Hi everybody, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hey, Professor, what's up?
Yeah, hey Chris. So I am uploading the video for the next class. I just put together a brief explanation. So once that's done, I'll link it to Lab 6 for 27A. So your request is granted.
Awesome. So great. That could get.
Yeah.
I can get
So
ready.
just make sure you look at the instructions carefully for the first part before you begin the lab. And then if you not sure, because you have to unzip certain file and put it in certain location, otherwise you can't complete the lab.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, okay.
Thanks,
But I
Professor.
will send out a notification to everybody so that way everybody doesn't have to get on Zoom for the next part.
Cool. Yeah, I've been
Oh,
I've been messing around with Python, and are we gonna learn about line conditions? Or
yes.
okay, so yeah, I've been trying to, and also trying to use the open. Also figure it out that Python gives you like a direct, like if you use dir with parentheses and the word list, it gives you all the things you can do with lists.
Yeah.
Or
You can do list help in shell and then it gives you all the help information like the parameters.
yeah,
So yeah,
that,
so you can definitely type in help on a certain type of container or keyword, and then it will tell you some instruction.
yeah, so I've been trying to get ahead a little bit.
Okay, that's good. So hi everybody. What we'll do today is going to be lab 6. So if you can visit your Canvas shell for the course and then download the instruction or the requirements for lab 6. And then I'll go into screen share. If I get dropped for some reason, because I'm uploading a video on YouTube for my next class, and then my husband's also on Zoom for his, so it might get a little spotty. So I just want you to know. So I'll jump back in any case, okay? Okay, so this is the lab information. So make sure that you download this document, and then in the document it asks for certain tasks. So we don't have too many to do today, and I hope to address all of them like what we usually do during the session. This is not due until the 2nd, so it's available today. You have a couple of days to finish. So if you don't finish today, you can spend the next couple of days to address the lab requirement. Okay, so let me get into my folder here. Okay, so in this lab, we will work on list, tuples, and dictionary. The majority of the exercises will be addressing list. Okay, so I'll start with the first question or the first exercise. It says Maria is saving for her vacation. During the first year, she saves the following: 200, 320, 180. So the amounts, what we want to do is we want to take notes of these amounts, and we want to be able to put that into a list. Okay. In the second year, she's able to save these amounts, and we want to use Python list without using the sum, right? Because when you use the sum method, you can just sum up the list. So in this case, we want to use a for loop to be able to total up the first set of elements in one list. And then we also going to create a second list for the second year. And we're going to add up all the elements in the second list. And then we're going to compare, because we want to determine which year she saved the most money for her vacation. So I'll go through and set up the pseudocode for this. So kind of walk you through the process a little bit before we start looking at the program. So first, we want to declare this one that's going to contain elements, or say amounts, for the first year. Then we're going to declare list 2, right? And that's going to contain the amounts for the second year. The reason why we're using 2 separate lists instead of a nested list is that if you look during the first year, right, we have a different number, a different length for the list, the different number of elements in a list. And also in the second year, it's less. It's a shorter length. So it would be a better approach to do 2 separate containers that would have different amounts as elements. So that way we can just send it through the for loop, get the sum for each one, and then to be able to compare the sum to see which one has the higher total. So after we declare each list and assign the values for the elements, then what we need to do is we would need to have some form of loop, like I said. So we would apply the control statement. So we would have for the access element values and calculate running sum. Now you can do the nested, or I can, when I show you the program, I will point that out. So you would want to use a variable like I or X or J or whatever to be able to indicate the index for each of the element as you set up that for loop. Okay. And we also want to use the range in the for loop, because that's going to give us the access for each of the elements inside that list. And we also want to use the length method to indicate that it's going to go from the beginning to the end of that list as it's looping through and accessing the index for each element in that list. Okay, so don't forget about the range and the length. So, and we want to use the membership operator, like what we've been doing with our for loop. Okay, so once you have the running sum, then you want to do a conditional statement. So here we want to have control statement, and that would be if and else. So what we need to check for at this point is the first condition we need to check for is if, right? We want to check for if list 1 is greater than list 2, then we will print message that it would be year 1 is greater than year 2, right? Something like that. Okay, then the else statement, then if it's smaller, then we would also print another message year 2 is higher than year 1. Okay. And that would conclude our program. So to start number 1, we need to declare each list and also assign the element value inside each list. Then we would apply, or we would implement the for loop to access the element and add up the value so that way we can get the sum for each year. Then within that, we also want to check to see if we can get the sum value compare. If the sum of list 1 is greater than the sum of list 2, we would print a certain message to say that she saved more in year 1 or something like that. And then else, then the year 2 would be higher in the sum. So once you have this set up, then you can run the program. I actually put it all into one file. Let me see. Make it idle open. Instead, because I started to have so many files for my example program. So get my file open and I can show you. Okay. So I have declared my year 1 as Y1, and then I assign the values that she saved inside that list, the amount, so 200, 320, 180, 210, 175, 305. And then for the year 2, I have the amounts initialized here inside that list. Okay, so that needs to be taken care of first for the exercise 1. Then what we will have is we would need to the option 1 is what we need to have. Okay, so we need to make sure that we first have the sum variable initialized at 0, because if you don't, you won't be having a location where you would store that running sum. And that's important as you iterate through the loop. Okay, so we want to initialize the variable for the sum for the year 1. Then we also need to initialize the sum for the year 2. Okay, then next we would have a for loop. So I use I in this case. So we would say for I in year 1, we would do the sum is equal to, right, the sum plus I. So it's going to do a running sum. So it's going to take 200 plus 320 plus as it loops through. Then we have another for loop to calculate the sum for year 2. So for I in year 2, sum year 2 is equal to year 2 plus I. Then after that, we apply the condition to check for which one is greater. If sum of year 1 is greater than year 2, print she saved more in the first year. Or Maria, change this up. And then else, print Maria saved more in the second year. Okay, Any question with this? So as you can see, the first option, I use the for loop to have a running sum and make sure that we have the variable to store the running sum for each year. Now I implemented the for loop, right, for the second year to add up all the values, okay, for the second year, and that's done there. Then I check to see which year has higher total, higher sum, okay. Now, a faster way to do this without using the for loop, right? If we use the sum method, it's the option 2. That's what you see there. So if you, now the requirement for the lab is that it asks you to use the for loop. So we would use the for loop, okay? Now, if you write it without the criteria, then you just simply use an if-else statement with the sum method, right, and the list name. So with the sum method, when you pass the list name, it'll just add up everything, and then you can print. So when I run this, sorry, I need to tab it in there. Okay. So you can see that in the first option, it shows Maria saved more in the second year, because when we total this up, this is slightly higher than the first year. And then we would get the same result with option 2, of course, so you can see. So we only need to do the option 1. Okay? Any question? No question. Okay. So I need screenshot of the script and the output. Okay. So this kind of gives you the layout, and sometime when you come across a problem that is a little bit more complex than your regular simple Python program, then you want to kind of map everything out, either using a diagram or flowchart, or we can just pseudocode it, which is easy, right? So we can lay out, we can outline the program first. Any questions? Okay, no question. Okay, so I'll give you like a couple minutes to look over the exercise 1 before I go to the next one. So the purpose in exercise 1 is really to use list, right? And then use the for loop. As you see that we don't always have a pre-built method for things, so I want to make sure that you have some practice using for loop. And in this one, unlike the other one where we have to use range and length, in this one we're using the compound assignment operator. So, and we initialize the variable. So when you have loops like for loops and while loop, like what we talked about last week, right, we want to initialize those variables beforehand. Any question with one before we begin the next exercise? Okay, no question. Let me check the chat real quick to see, make sure that we address everybody's concern. Oh, no, not ready for 2. Okay.
I think she meant she is ready for 2.
Oh, she's ready for 2. Oh, okay. All right. So thanks, Chris. For number 2, very easy. So it says on Taco Tuesday, restaurant sells 3 tacos for $7, 5 tacos for $10, and 12 tacos for $18, 20 tacos for $24. Using Python lists, calculate the price per taco for each option. Then display the best option for the customer. So what we want to do is we want to calculate the price per taco, and that's important to highlight, right? That's our purpose. And we want to compare, right, the option to make sure that the customer gets the best deal. So when you see apps like this, where it's looking at all the store products and, you know, based on the range of the products, and then it does a comparison. So we know that we have to use a list, okay? And in this case, we can do a 2D or a nested list, right? A list within a list, okay? So we want to have one list that's going to contain the quantity of tacos, 3, 5, 12, 18, 20, okay? And then the other list is going to contain the price, and those two is going to encapsulate in one list, okay? So I'm going to map out this, outline it, so that way we know what to do. Okay. So we need to declare a nested list. And inside it, it's going to contain quantity of tacos. And the other sublist would be price. Okay, so let me add the word sublist so you know. Okay. Then what do we do next? What do you guys think? Since it's a nested list, right, we need to implement some kind of loop. Okay, so here we can use a for loop again, access. index to calculate price per taco. That's our objective. And the price per taco, simply we're going to take the price divided by the quantity. Okay? So we can really compare, because at $7 for 3 tacos, it's going to run roughly above $2 and something cents per taco. And then at 5 tacos for $10, you know that's $2. 12 tacos for $18, that's like $1 something per taco. And then $20, 20 tacos at $24, it's like $1 something as well. So we wanted to see which deal, which bundle of tacos is going to give us the best price for the customer. Okay. So once you have that, then you can check, right? So we can display the price. So how would you check in this case? Any idea?
Check for the best price. Use minimum.
Yeah, so you can use min method. To check price for each. Okay. I think I wrote up to the for loop. Okay. Now, so in this one, for the for loop, make sure that we implement the range and the length. Okay. So I use Z as the list name. You can use it anything you want. You can say tacos, whatever, right? And in it, I have the nested loop. I mean, the nested list. And then after that, I have the loop. So, but I don't have, what I'm missing from this is a way to check it. Okay. So what we can do is, Michelle suggested that we can use the min method to be able to check that. Okay. So here it's using I. So for every index in the range of the length of the list, okay. And why do I use 1 here? What's 1? Remember that, yes, go ahead, Chris.
Isn't that the quantity?
Yes, so that's the quantity of the tacos. Why do we use the quantity of the taco here? So the 1 represent the second list. Answer?
Yeah, because if you just leave it as blank, it's only going to give you 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to
So
use.
we want to iterate through the entire list there. If you use 0 here, what happens? It's only going to edit. Yeah, you still get what?
4. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically we're saying that it needs to iterate through the entire list. And yeah, so basically there are 4 elements in each list, right? And we want it to iterate it to up to the second list, all 4 elements. Okay. And here what I did is I stopped here is because I only print the price per taco. So I'm gonna take the price divided by the quantity list. So the first list is about price. The second list is about the quantity. And I want to index each of the elements. So it's going to take, right, 7 divided by 3, 10 divided by 5, 18 divided by 12, and 24 divided by 20. Okay. Now, as we simply print here, but what else can we do here to really compare? We can store each price into another list. If you want, you can append it, and then you can compare it that way, or you can put it into a variable and you can compare it that way.
I thought this problem was more complicated in that once you find the best price per taco, you have to tell them how that relates back to the prices in the list, like which price per taco.
So with that, you're correct. So that once you have the price, you found the minimum price, then you have to refer back to this list, which is index 0, right? And then the I, so you have to have another for loop to be able to point to which one is the best. Okay. So in this case, so once you have that, I would store it to I would put it onto a list. And then from there, you can use the min, and you would pass, this is gonna be I would say the list 3. And we would pass it list 3. Okay. So you can simply add what? Here, instead of printing, or even after you print, you can take each of the value and append it into another container, another list, right? Because we would have price for each of the package, and we would put it back into another list, and we can use that list to check for the minimum value, because what it's going to do is going to sort it, and it's going to find that minimum value and then do a print. Okay. So what I have, yes, Michelle?
Well, I just thought I would have to store the index from the minimum and relate that back to the index of the price list, so that I could say the best price is the $24. So the only way is to store the index.
Mm-hmm. So, but your index, as it loops through, your index is still the same, because it's going to refer to the first price per taco is for the first index, the second index, the third index, and the fourth index. So you're right. You can refer to the I and then point to, which package that is. because it would sequentially process that. So we won't have any kind of mix up with the index. The I remains the same because the price per taco will point to, right, the from the 0 index that we started with from the first to the last in that length.
So I guess I don't know how to find the index for the minimum price in the append list.
So so when we process the appended list, you show the price for that, right? Can you print?
I don't know, can I print the index that
Yeah,
is the minimum?
so that would, yeah, so when you print the index of that minimum, it will just point to the value, which is like an index value. And that would translate to, you know, so if we say this is option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, then when you print, you just do a print I plus 1 because we count up from 0, right? So you would say, you know, print option colon I plus 1, and it's going to say option 4, which gives us the 4th package. Everybody follow that?
Yes.
Okay. So to finish mapping this, so once you do this, you can use minimum to check price, and then when you print, you can do a print because it's sequentially indexing. We would do a print I plus 1 to show option number. Okay. Now you don't have to use the min. Another way that Python will allow us to do this is to do compare each of the element, right? It would do a 0 with a 1 and a 1 with a 2 and so forth. And you would often see this when you iterate through like C++ array and such. But with Python, very similar to what you've seen in array in C++, we have to reference the location of memory where each of the element value exists. So they have a library that uses map, right? A module that, you know, so you can use map to really map it back to the location of each of the value, and then you can use a comp method, which is a comparison method, to check from one value to the next inside a container. If you don't map it, you know, so it would be something like this. You would do a pass with the map and then a min and then the list name. Okay, and you don't have to import anything with that. Map is pre-built module with inside Python 3. But if you're using like pynum, which is another way that you can use it as an object, we'll talk about that down the line. I thought about adding it to this lab, but you know, it seems to complicate things because there's so many different approaches. So another way is you can import pynum, which is Python numerical library, and it's slower. However, you can create an object, which is a container, a location, and then you can reference that object to compare each of the value in that list. Okay, so there are 3-4 ways that we can actually address this particular problem. The easiest way that you know right now is to use, you know, the min with the for loop. Okay. So once you have appended to the list 3, okay, which we use append here, okay, because we individually need to add it back into a third list, then you can check, right, using the min, but you can simply map it to the minimum value in that list and then print out the index in that list. Either way, it's still, so when you do the min here to indicate and then check the price, and then you can print out the index with, you know, you can use a for loop with that if you want to automate that, or you can simply map it to the list 3 and point to the index.
I have a question.
Sure.
The map has to have at least 2 arguments.
Yeah. So
What are they?
with the, yeah, let me show you. I think I have, 1 second. Trying to, okay, I see it. So I tested something with the max. Doing the saving ones of the previous exercise. So you simply do this, okay? If you want to map to minimum and max, right, you can check it again. So you can have a container set up, because it needs to, you know, it's a way that we can, it's like setting up the iterator with the pointer for C++. So we would have the, like in exercise 2, we would have a min, a map, and a min, and then the second one to answer Michelle's question is the original list, or the list that you're checking, which is list 3. Okay, so when you do this, you, in my case here, I'm checking for the max, and it's gonna map it to the maximum of that list. Okay, so I'm using a method, I map it to the other method that's gonna check that list. So it's a way that we point to the location of the memory location where that min or that max value is stored. Okay. I tested this because I originally wanted to add this component to our lab session. I ended up talking about it today anyway, so I should have added the notes, but we'll come back to this when we get to the function and doing more comparison with our exercises. So in this one, I did a test for it. I simply just checked to see which high value. Yes, Aiko.
Okay. I just want to see after you run what have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it goes through, I did a nested list on this one, and it goes through and it maps it to the 410, which is the highest value in the nested list. So we can minimize the for loop doing that part, right? Like we can do a min map min comma list 3 after you append the price per taco, and then you can print out, you know, you can print out what that is and which option that is, which is the index plus 1.
Can you print step by step for the high saving? Like you first print max saving, the second map saving.
Then I have to implement that in. I have to add a for loop with that if you wanted to, but I only have one highest saving, which is 1. It's 410, so no point to add a for loop in that case. You see?
Yeah, but But this is list. This
Oh,
is
for the,
next list. In that
okay.
group, the 410. Another group is max
So
out.
let's say that if I'm looking at just the
Okay.
minimum, there would only be
Okay.
one minimum value, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that we change this up to the least saving, right? And then I would change my variable least. So this would tie with what you guys are doing for the tacos. Okay, yeah, so it'll point to 150. And it automatically checked the main container, which, you know, so the container I have is savings and I nested the two lists. So it would iterate through and it checks it and it maps it. Okay. Now, if you use comp is comparison, I mentioned that in the notes for our week this week. When you do that, you have to use numpy, which is you have to create an object with that library. So you can call the object anything you want. So you can say import numpy and then the object name, and then you can use the comp to compare each of the element inside that. So what it does is it creates an object and it's gonna reference the properties of the list elements in for that object. It's a little slower than using map, as map is already built in and it's mainly used for comparison like this in list or array. Okay. Question. So this one's a little bit more challenging than the surface, right? Like when you look at that, each of those statements needs to really be
Question.
tied to your, yes.
So there's no way to use the index method for the min?
Yeah, like pass it inside the min.
No, I have to pass the min inside the index or
Oh,
use it out on the min.
no, because you would lose, you would lose the reference, because min was used to compare, because that wouldn't be correct, because when you do a min with an index method, you simply compare the index value. It's not gonna check correctly, because if I do an index, it just tells me the index value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's gonna point back to the first index because 0 is the least.
Oh, no, I think I figured it out. I would use.
Oh, you got it?
No, I would use the 1.2 and find the index of that, and then use that to refer to the original price list.
Right.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Yeah, so you can search for that value. That there's another way, right? Like Michelle said, what she does is once she found the price, then you can match that price in that list and index it. Good. That's a good way too. So there's so many ways to solve this one. So I wanted to see your way. So what Michelle is saying, going back to our other program, is that once you created the list 3, right, you appended the value. Remember how we talked about, seeking for, so use a method to search for that value. And then once you find that, index it. So use an index method to print out which option that is. Okay. So that's another way to solve it. Okay, anything else on 2? So sometimes I don't have the complete solution, but I will get you to most part of it. And that's the whole point, is to learn and discover and be able to be innovative with how you write these programs, right? Because everybody write it a little bit differently. You think of to solve the problem a little bit different, right? Because if you just follow the, my procedure, it's just mimicking my procedure. That's okay, but eventually you guys are gonna have your own program and be able to solve the larger problems in the world. So we want to make sure that you have those things. Okay, so on three is an easy one. The Hernandez family has 5 children: Pablo, Lila, Jorge, Carla, and Samuel. Use Python list to display each child's full name. And this allows us to automate a lot of the process. So how does this tie back to networking and computer and security, right? Let's say that you are the system administrator and you have to generate names for all your computer before you add them onto the domain, right? Let's say that we bought 100 computers and we have to name them all, okay? So what you can do is you can create a list that would have individual computer, unique computer value, like 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, etc. And then you can add in the additional name that would pertain to possibly, something for the operation. We don't advise like this, but in some company, they would add like the department name, right? Or some kind of symbol that would indicate the department name. Like, for example, for finance, they would use like Fin, right? 001, Fin 002, Fin 003, Fin 004. And we can create a list this way and then import that list, right? Make a file in text file and then import that file using bash to be able to generate the automation and adding these individual system onto the network. And that can completely be done using Python with shell. So this is kind of like the very basic level that you would see. So here we're going to print their full name, right? So first, what I need to do is to declare a list of first name, right? And assign the values. So we would assign names in this list: Pablo, Lila, etc., based on what's given. Then we would be able to use a for loop to, what do we need to do? We need to add, we need to combine, so we need to concatenate the first with the last name Rodriguez, or Hernandez, I'm sorry, Hernandez. I don't know why I was thinking about Rodriguez. Maybe I intended to write Rodriguez there, but okay. Then we will print it, right? And then print. That's really easy. So it's like a 2-step. Okay. So in this case, we want to concatenate. Another way that we can do this is to go backwards. What we can do is we can append. Actually, no, you can't. Well, you can slice it, treat each individual string as a sublist, and then we can add the Hernandez to each of the substring and then use a for loop to print. So that's a longer way. We can go backwards, break it up and look at it as the strings, right? They are sublists, and then increase the sublist length by adding the last name and then use a for loop to print each of the element value with the last name. Okay, so it's a lot easier using concatenation with the for loop, right? Compared to if I would add Hernandez into Pablo, Hernandez into Lila, right? And store it in a list and then use a for loop to do that. So that's the second approach. So here's my program, exercise 3. Okay. So I have a list called names, and I assign each of the string and separate them with a comma in that list. Then I use a for loop. And I would say for I in range length names. That's easy, just like what we did before. And then we simply do name index plus equal, because we want to add Hernandez to each of the names here as it loops through, and then we would print the names. Okay, very easy. So when we run this is like further down here, so it puts it back into the list itself, because there are 5 children and we wanted to print their full name for each one. Okay. Now, if you want specific ones to be printed separately, then you have to be able to pull that out individually. So I'm fine with it like this, because, you know, we added their last name to their first name and then reprint it. So it puts it back into the container when we concatenate it. Okay, any question? Okay. So the nice things about Python is that it has a lot of the mechanism already pre-built in. So we don't have to do so much more, right, to achieve that task compared to other languages where you would have a little bit longer in the code or the script, right? A little bit longer in the code in order to achieve this. So we can definitely generate like network system names. We can even automate like the user account name. And a lot of the functionality we can use with Python, right? And then we would be able to import into our main system or server and automate the process. Okay. Any question on exercise 3? We're halfway there, so we're right on the time budget here. Okay. So Party Supply Plus for number 4 sells products. And we have balloons for $2.99, cups for $3.99, plates for $2.79, and tablecloth for $4.99. And we want to use a dictionary, and that's a different form of container, right? Make sure that we remember the syntax with the dictionary. Write a program that would print a list like that: balloons $2.99, cups $3.99, plates $2.79, tablecloth $4.99. Okay, so the important thing that you need to really identify for dictionary is that first we would have a key, and then this is the value. So we would first declare dictionary, which is a container, and with that we would have a key and value. And then you would separate them by the comma, of course, right? And it's a container it's a larger container than what you see with the nested list. So think of it like it would be multidimensional list in a sense. So that way that we would quickly, we can search for a certain key and then it's going to give me a value. So for example, if I'm searching for balloons, then it's going to be able to give me $2.99, right? So with this, we would also implement loops to be able to access it and print it, right? So implement for loop to access keys and print. So here's my exercise 4 program right here. So you can have a container and just call it anything you want. I didn't do a good practice with this here. So let's say supplies. And then I'll change this. So with the dictionary, the purpose in this is that I want you to see that we can use a different method with the dictionary. Okay. So you know that we want to, when you index this, you have to point to the key and the value. So therefore you would have the I and the J here. Okay. So we stated, here's our dictionary and here's our key, which is a string, balloons, and then our price, $2.99. Next, we have another one, another key, and another prize, another key, another prize, and so forth. And we would enclose that with the curly brace for dictionary. With the for loop, what you would have is you would say for I, that's going to represent the key, J, that's going to represent the value for each key, in supplies dot item. Okay, so here I use the items method because I wanted to look at the value for each of the key. And then I wanted to print out, okay, the list and then format it so that way it would be as I would present it in the case. So we want to format the components in the dictionary. So when we run this, let me redo this. So close it, sorry. When we run this program, okay, let me scroll up a little bit. We would see that I have balloons, cups, plates, tablecloth as shown. Okay, so this is how we would use the items method with the dictionary. Question? Okay.
don't have to worry about that bullet point, right? Like we wanted to the bullet point.
Oh, no. Yeah, I intended to make it where it's just a list of items, like if you were to do inventory. Yeah, you just don't have, I use bullet point in Word so that way it was separated, but yeah, no bullet points.
What's the difference between an item and a key?
So when you do a key, it only shows the string for the key, the string. So it would be like the first part. So here's the first part is your key and the second part is your value. So if you're only doing the key, then it's only going to show balloons, cups, plates, tablecloth.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you use only for, as we loop it, right? So when you do a key, you can point to specific value like $2.99 for the value. So the reason why we want to use item here is we want to be able to access both versus only like the value of that key. Understand? So if I'm using the key, I can only point to $2.99. So it will only print like $2.99 for balloons. It won't show the balloons part. So we want all the items in our dictionary, so it will print out the key and its value.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, so if I'm only interested in comparing the prices for my party supply, so let's say that I'm a customer and I'm using the app and I only have a certain amount of money to buy, right? Like, or I want to buy the cheapest item in that dictionary, then I can just I can check using the values, and we can go back to the beginning where we would look at the min, right, for that particular value. Okay. So in this one, we want to print out both parts, key and value. Okay. For the next one, my husband insisted that you guys should do one like this. So the next one, we are going to take the given list, or actually not a list, a tuple. Know that we talked about tuple is immutable, meaning that we don't change the content, and we would use the parentheses around the values, right? See this? So you have to take this, and we want to make a list out of that, right? We don't want to manually do that because that defeats the whole purpose in using method in Python. So we wanted to access each of the value and then append it into a list. And then after we append it, we want to add 10 to each of the value. So it will become 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so it teaches you how to append it to a list. And so if you didn't do one earlier for the earlier exercise, you will see how this is done. Okay, so A, right, declare I will use append to construct a list based on the given tuple. And as you append, you also need to have for loop. And then we want to also, as we loop through, we also want to add 10 to each element. And then we want to print list. Okay. So that kind of gives you the basic outline of this. Here is my program. I should add at the top to declare an empty list. So that way you know. Right? We have to create a different container, of course. So here, we have the first one to start, which is nums, and that's a tuple. We know we cannot change a tuple, so we want to put those values into a list. So I declare nums2, okay? And nums2 would be an empty list. Then I implement a for loop. I can say for I in range of length num. We want to access each of the value of the tuple, pull them, and then put them into the list and add 10 to it. Okay, so we can do nums2 append nums and the index for the element of the nums, and then we're going to do a plus 10. And then we print. So not too long, very easy. Question?
I did it a little bit different.
Okay, still works.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Instead of putting an empty list, I converted the nums into a list right away.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't make a difference, like I see.
No. Yeah, so as long as you have it in the proper container, then you can add. When you say convert, how do you convert, Chris?
Hold on, let me show you my screen.
Let me enable, let me stop share and then enable that because I have it default as in. Oh, no.
I did not use the append method in the for loop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do share. I want to see.
So I have
Okay. That works too. You guys see what Chris is doing? So he can convert it because it's type. Remember we talked about that earlier in the semester? When you type, so when you have it as a tuple, you have it as a certain type. So now we type it to list. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
yeah, so yeah, that's what I did here. I converted the tuple straight into a list here.
Uh-huh.
Then I just use the range of, instead of using nums, I use the same, because since I already have the list here, because what this does, it automatically converts it into.
Yeah,
20.
because it typed it as a list.
Yeah, it types it, and then so I have the 4, and instead of appending it, I just pretty much here on this one, I pretty much just reassign each index.
Right. So you can do nums to I equal or plus equal plus 10. That would do the same thing. Yeah,
so
to shorten it. Okay.
I can do this, delete that.
Yep, that works too. Fantastic. Good idea to use the type conversion with that, because that automatically just set up the container to be a different type. Yeah, so you can definitely convert tuple. So tuples are used for, more static data, and then if we want to change up the data, we have to convert it to a different container. Great job. Any other suggestions or approach? So you saw how Chris did it. He typed that as a list, and then let me share mine. And then this is the way that I did mine on the bottom here. Okay. So I just created a separate container and I append it to a second container. So you can do it that way, or you can convert the first container and to a list type and then do it that way instead of using append. And it comes out roughly about the same, length in your script anyway, so that works. Wow, we finished super early today. You guys are getting good, I guess. Either that or I'm going too fast. Any question?
Yes, so there's a lot of new methods in these chapters, and we didn't go over every single one.
Oh yeah, and also you know that there are more methods than even some of the listed ones. So it's like C++ STL, right? You can never go through all the member functions. So what I like to do in the future is like I will try to tie them back to some of the method, just like how we talked about, you know, some of the method like min and max before, and we will tie it back to that and get more practice. But I like to address some of the possibly the ones that might be more applicable to solve some of the problems possibly. So yes, Michelle, I'll take that into consideration, and I will incorporate that in future exercises, because we will come back to lists and you know, dictionary and such for even when we write functions and stuff like that. Okay.
And then I know you had a lot on your plate, but did you hear anything back about the Perkins?
Yes, I did. I got the Perkins Fund. They sent me the forms to complete and make a request, and I'm waiting for the vendor to give me the exact quote. His goal was to get, because when he quote us, he has to quote us for the security portion of it, which is, you know, I'm trying to get the certification for my forensic students, and also some of the other stuff that was released by ISC². So they don't release it until October. So he told me that, you know, even if he gets all the other pricing done for me, he has to wait for the, you know, their vendor to give them the modules in October. So I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks I will have a complete quote, and that goes up to board, and it takes the board like a month to, because if we miss the board date, it's gonna go into the next month. So it's, you know, hopefully I can address all of that, and if I get the quote like next week, it will make board in the middle of October. Once they approve that, then we will get the license, because any kind of money that's being funded, that's being spent, it has to go through board approval. So yeah, but so definitely I'm hoping sometime in October I'll be able to let you guys know for sure for Certiport. And for everybody in this class, Python certification with Microsoft will be available through Certiport. So once you complete this class, or during this class you think you're super good at Python, then you can do that along with other programming languages too. So like C++, Java, and it's introduction level, right? To get you the certificate that you need, or the certification that you need to get jobs. And then after that, you can also certify with, you know, other vendors. Python has its own, like the PCAP, but you know, that's up to you. You don't have to have certification to work as a programmer, of course, but for security people, it's important that they do. So, okay. So Michelle, just hang tight for at least a couple more weeks. I know it's, you know, but this week has been great for me. I'm caught up with grading because I knocked off all the things I need to do as far as administrative work. Also, I have an IOI review that's coming up. So they will be observing my classes. I'm up for tenure review. So if I make it this time, I will be tenured in the next year. But if not, we'll wait another year. So, okay.
Then
You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
okay.
Yes, Aiko.
Do you? I know you open the class called repair compute.
Oh
class?
yeah, the computer repair course, the first 4 weeks we finished. Right now we're in the networking portion, the second class, the CIS824B. So yeah, and then after the 4 weeks, then we're gonna go into the third class, which is the 824C. I
Do you open in winter? Open that
uh
class?
I can propose it, but it's a 6-week course, so we try to do it as a set of 3. So I'll have to ask my boss, but we were thinking of running it again, possibly in spring or summer. Definitely the IoT one in the summer. If you guys can take those are free. The 833, those are really fun. It will be Arduino Pi, and I'm using a third board for the designer one, which is called Google Coral. It's one that you can use to prototype, and you can use all different languages to program, but it is C based. So it's a microboard. It's an embedded system. So what you can do is you can prototype it for IoT devices like wearable devices and such, which is really cool. And I found online emulator for all of them. So I rewrote the online version of it, and I just submitted it last week. That's why it was so crazy. But if if you want to take those classes, it will teach you more about programming. It will teach you more about electrical circuits. It will teach you more about how to work with embedded system and microcontroller, because computer science in the and engineering, right, to speak to the mass, of course, um, they they work with embedded system, or they take classes in embedded system, which is embedded Linux. And then for cybersecurity, it's always good to know a little bit more about IoT programming, because we always deal with IoT wearable devices or smart devices that have security, so that way you can test it. And they're free classes. They're short and sweet, 16 hours each. So yeah, I will let you know once we finalize the schedule. But from what I heard for the winter, I'm teaching 17A and 18A again.
18A.
Yeah. So C++ programming, the first part, and then the 18A is the Java online. And it's mostly going to be, they call it asynchronous, or not like this, where I would record stuff and put it online and you will watch it, but you don't have to meet in person. Okay, so that kind of conclude what we have to do for the lab today. If you finish everything, submit it. And if you have any outstanding work, make sure that you turn them in. If you need something to unlock, send me an email. And then I hope you have a good weekend ahead.
Can I make can I tell something to the group?
Sure.
So me and Eiko are gonna do a study group. If you guys want to join, I put my email on the chat. That way, if you're having trouble, we can work things out.
Yeah, so Chris is nice enough to assist you. Chris, you should sign up to be a tutor so you can get paid for it. I put up the tutoring information in announcement from Dr. Clark. So you have to take a class to be a tutor. I encourage you guys, if you're good at programming like C++, Java, Python, even the security classes, CIS 25, 27, sign up to be a tutor and get paid for it, because they always look for STEM tutor. And then if they need to validate things, have them contact me. Have Dr. Clark or Tom Vizio, who's the associate dean. I do a lot of stuff for STEM, so they know me. So if they have any questions, or if they question you, you just have to have an A in certain classes. Actually, Chris, if they ask for that, maybe you can test it and then tell them that you have to have an A in the course to tutor that course by policy. But see if they can work with you in other areas. Okay, but sign up to be a tutor. I know it pays like about 12 something an hour, but if you can get paid to do stuff and get some experience, that's good. I always learn more when I teach something, so it's a good way for you to really brush up on your skills to help someone else.
Okay.
Every time I teach like a class, I could teach it 100 times, and every time I teach it, I learn a better way to really solve a problem. Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
JavaScript in the winter, I don't think so, but it will be offered in spring, 14A. Okay.
Okay. The Java. I took a Java class called 18.
Yeah, 18.
Java class have two, right? The first half book, second half book. I took first half book. I don't know what the class number is. 17.
Yeah,
First
18.
half.
Yeah, first half is 18A, and
Oh,
then the second and the third of it is 18B and 18C. I
okay.
might be teaching 18B, or 18C. I think usually Castellera is the one who teaches 18C. If they don't find anybody for 18B, I might teach it in the spring.
Spring.
Right now we're still trying to fix some of the problem on the schedule. So you will see the schedule soon.
Do you open 18A in winter? Do you teach
18A? Yeah, 18A I'm teaching in the winter. Yes.
Okay.
So that's Java. And then JavaScript is different. JavaScript is CIS30A, B, and C. And for what I know is that we haven't really offered the B and the C because it's outdated. I did talk to the colleagues at RCC, and we're thinking of rewriting the B and the C for the 14 series to have Node.js, because I think that's what the field demands, because the way they have it is JavaScript with database, and some of the stuff was outdated, so they have to rewrite those courses. So 14A is the JavaScript, and I don't know when B and C would ever be offered, like I said, so you might never see it offered because it's really old. And so they have to update the course information with state. But I will be teaching 17A in the winter, and it's a straight online class. I will record some lab exercises and some instruction, and I will put it online. You can watch it wherever you want.
Yeah.
And then just go through and do it's online class, so it's not like a synchronous class where we would meet in person. But right now that's what it says. Okay. But yeah, for 18A, Java is a little harder at first to set up the virtual machine, but once you have it going, it's really easy. And I do similar things to this class where we have exercises, you run it, you create the program, but Java is a little bit more where, you have to set up your path and all of that, but it'll be fine. Watch the videos.
Yeah, because I took that class few years ago. Most I forgot. I can do this class because I read that math coding use the Python program, so I know that.
Yeah.
I know there's a little bit I can learn. I can catch you. I tell you, last semester I took C++, the second half book, not the first. First half of book I learned a few years ago. I forgot. That go straight to the second half book last quarter in the RCC city campus. That professor was very fast. I couldn't catch up.
Yeah, the 17C in especially in the short winter intersession or the summer will be hard. And then 17C is a little bit more advanced, so it's expected that you know C++ well going into that class. But I think if you go back and review and prepare, you will be okay, because not all instructor will review at the beginning. So yeah, see, programming is like, just anything else. You have to keep doing it, and then just to improve and learn and help other people. And I know that you do it for your master's, but that's why you're good at Python, and then C++, if you haven't touched it, you forget it, right? Syntax is different, but concept is the same. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Any question?
Okay, I'm okay. I have no question.
Yeah, I will let you know if we have new courses being offered.
Yes.
We will run the CIS40A, which is the networking one for the certificate for the IT and other certificates. It's the Network Plus. So we will run those in that one in spring, along with possibly the CIS41A, which is the next. It has a lot of the component from the ethical hacking one, but it's really addressing risk analysis um, on all aspects, not just ethical hacking. So for those students who are in the cybersecurity one, look out for those so that way you can complete the certificate. And then I will try to run the next two CIS30B and C. I just sent the email for that. So if you take those, that will mainly look at scripting for networking and security. It will be fun, different than this one where we just write basic program. We will write program for networks and security. So that will be a little different. So those will be the next two, and then after that we will run the IoT and the advanced one. So you can knock it all out for the certificate in Python, okay, in 3 semesters. That's my goal. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? No other questions. I'm here for questions if you need. And if you are finished with everything, no questions, have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you next week on Monday or in the next class. I don't see you guys. So Alma and Chris, I will post video and then just do the practice lab. I will send an announcement for that.
Awesome. See you next week.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Professor. Have a good day.
Bye. Thank you. You too.
I wanted to ask you. I did talk to them about the tutoring, and
Okay.
I don't know. They're supposed to be checking my grades and everything.
They do.
Should they ask for things like references? Should I direct them toward you or anything? Or
Yeah. So if Dr. Clark or STEM Center asks, right, like for references, because they usually give you a form, or they would send a form to the faculty that you put down for as a reference. Like let's say that you took CIS25A and you got an A in the class and you want to tutor the students in that class, then I fill out some information about your performance. So if they give you a form that you need to complete, you can go to the instructor that's relevant to that subject, like either me or somebody that you took, and then you can have them fill that out. And then you would bring it back and give it back to, either Dr. Clark or the STEM center, and then they will start the process. So it does take a little bit that if you took the class already, I think you're pretty much set up for that.
yeah, right now they have me talking to someone named Donna Plunk. Do you know who that
Yeah,
is?
she's great. Yeah, Donna runs the STEM center physically, and she manages all the tutors and the SIs that work, in STEM. So yeah, so make sure you touch base with Donna. She's gonna be the one that you mainly report to, along with Mr. Vizio, who overlooks her and the entire department, the STEM center. He's the associate dean that he checks for resources. So those will be the people that's gonna be mainly working with you after you completed the training process. Okay, so you can sign up to tutor for other things.
Yeah,
Like CIS1A. The CIS area is much needed. You know that.
Yeah, she gave me or she told me she wanted my student ID number so she could check and make sure everything checks out as far as my other classes. But yeah, I don't know if you know how you said Python tutors were needed in the email. I don't know if she'd let any of us tutor for Python, even though we could tutor as we learn, because we're not technically supposed to be a teacher and give them the answers. We're supposed to help them find the answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just let her know that, you know, Chris, and you know, if you want to join his study group, because he does a lot of different study group, so you can let them know, and then kind of, you know, even in the case where if they don't let you tutor the subject that you're currently in, you can mention to them so that way they can add that study group and then just organize it so that way the other students will know. I think RCC RCC teaches the non-credit Python. They didn't opt into these courses, but they have written a recent course called for non-computer science, which is a little bit less than this one. However, you know, so you might have people who are just interested in learning Python in the study group. So you can help them too. Right?
No, yeah, definitely. I was gonna text him about it. I usually text him every now and then. I was gonna text him about it, but I just have to make sure I can meet with them without, you know, with my time schedule. I don't know if
Oh, yeah.
it'll work, but if it can, yeah, I'd drop in every now and then, talk to him.
Yeah, and I think when you work with Donna Plunk, she really look at the window of time that you're gonna be available, so that will be, you know, promoted based on the window of time. So you sign up based on your schedule, and then I think now they do Zoom, and they do like you know, either I think Microsoft Team and stuff like that. So so she'll talk to you about the process and then get you started. So hopefully
Well, that's
that
good.
will
I
be
was
good.
worried because I talked to that one dude and he bounced me to her, and I was like, please tell me she's someone who can handle it, you know?
Oh
Because
yeah,
I
so
didn't know if they
she's
were gonna
great.
keep playing with me, bouncing me between people.
Oh no, yeah, so yeah, Dr. Clark is just the one that's gonna train the students, that's the incoming tutor, like the ones that haven't been trained. But since you already been trained, then just make sure you follow up with her. She's busy, so
Yeah, I got
okay.
trained by the head of the literary chair. Well, anyway, sorry. You probably have stuff you have to do.
That's okay. Jeff Ryan, I know him.
Yeah,
Dr. Ryan is great. He's fantastic.
yeah,
I
he was
like
real
him.
fun.
Yeah, he's a good teacher too.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
All right. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
See you next week.
Okay, take care. Bye, Ray.
Bye bye.
Sean, you have any question? Okay, Sean, I'm gonna sign off. So if you have any questions, just shoot me an email if you need any help.